Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron.
You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the Raw Review on the WWE Podcast. It is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023, and we are going to talk about Monday Night Raw. That was a fun one, I thought, on a couple of levels, a surprising one, particularly when it comes to The Miz's performance. Should I be surprised about his performance? We'll talk about that. We also saw a really interesting altercation between Becky Lynch and Nia Jax, one that I'm very high on, actually, and even complimentary, if you can believe it, towards Nia Jax. Ivy Nile had a lot of fun with Rhea Ripley and showed her strength to Rhea Ripley when she's essentially half her size. We saw Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre get real with one another in a promo that I thought also delivered very well, and so much more. So, of course, the Cody Rhodes and Shinsuke Nakamura program continues to burn nicely, and so we're going to talk about that, and as I said, more. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But first, welcome to the WWE Podcast. We are here about 6 days a week. And if you want to join us ad-free, patreon.com/WWE Podcast. It's the best way to go to get everything ad-free. You get a ad-free experience. If you go up in tier, you get everything ad-free plus an additional show every other week that's exclusive, the After Dark show, a adult version of the podcast. So, alrighty. Let's talk about it. And guys, just so you know, I do have a bit of a cold today. So I've been fighting a cold for a few days. It finally came on. And so if I sound a little congested, I apologize. But let's just get into it. Let's talk about The Miz and Gunther. A match that, you know, when we saw it advertised, I think a lot of us said, hey, it'll be a decent match. Gunther obviously retains. And that's that. Well, Gunther did retain, to absolutely nobody's surprise. But to be fair, this may have been The Miz's best match in years. Does it hurt that he's working with one of the best Intercontinental champions of all time and arguably one of the best talents in the entire company right now? No, it doesn't hurt. And Gunther continues to put on clinics in the ring. And he feels so much different because he doesn't work like everybody else. He works slower. He works harder. And when I mean harder, I mean stiffer. Not that his effort level is higher than anyone else's, but his style is a much more stiff style. And The Miz, after really a couple of years of just kind of flaunting back and forth and getting his ass kicked by celebrities and being the butt of most jokes, again, probably put on his best match in a few years. And one that I think will help catapult The Miz further. Now, I know a lot of you, there are some of you out there, at least that I know, that think The Miz is a cancer to this industry. And I have not been very supportive of The Miz in the past either. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've been The Miz's biggest cheerleader. I despised his days with John Morrison. Absolutely despised them. I think his involvement with a lot of celebrities made him and the business look weak, getting his ass kicked by some 55-year-old rapper named Snoop Dogg, right? I know who Snoop Dogg is, but you get my drift. He's always the butt of the joke. At times he's been too jokey, and I didn't think that this run of a babyface turn for him would be this successful, but it has been. Even though it's only been a month or two, I think it's already overachieved. And not that I want to see The Miz as champion. Okay, I don't need to see him as world champion. But you can't deny that the match here with Gunther didn't help his case to, at least from the fans' perspective, collectively. The fans, if you listen to them, were very behind The Miz and chanted, "This is awesome." It was a very good match. The skull-crushing finale off the middle rope had a lot of people believing Gunther rolls out of the ring. The power bomb, just all of it was just well done. Gunther saying he's going to take a little bit of a vacation, as he should, and go back to his home country in Austria and just enjoy life for the holidays with his family is really what's happening. I don't know, by the way, next week on Raw, I think it's a recap show. Given that next week, Christmas Day is Monday, there's no way they're going to have a Monday Night Raw on Christmas Day unless they pre-taped it. So Gunther is, and again, should be taking a few weeks off. I would imagine he's not going to be back until the first Raw of the new year. I say this every year. The first Raw of the new year is really when things get going again. You can toss away the next week, okay, week and a half, and really the next 12 days of wrestling. Not that they're useless, but things will get kicked into overdrive on day one, which is going to be the first day of January 2024, where we have a stacked Monday Night Raw. Stacked. Okay, I mean, it's championship matches. It's a PLE that just happens to be broadcast on Raw. That's what this is. And I had a feeling they would do something like this as a stopgap between the long break between PLEs. I mean, remember, it was a 2-month break. And then we'll be into full Rumble mode with people just declaring that they're in the Rumble. And they, we'll, of course, have many mystery entrants on the both men and women's side. I know we haven't really talked much about the Royal Rumble match itself because there's not a whole lot of entrants, and the favorites have already shown themselves on the men's side, specifically with Cody Rhodes, I think, leading the pack, given that he is slated to face Roman Reigns for the championship and beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. That's the tentative plan from what I understand. Could absolutely be wrong. But then you throw in LA Knight in that conversation. You throw in, of course, CM Punk into that conversation. You throw in, I don't know, if Randy Orton wants to be in the Rumble, I guess he could, even though he has a match with Roman. So there's other guys as well, okay, that you throw into this and say, what if? What if? And I don't know if there's any favorites on the women's side, though. When you look at the women's side of the Royal Rumble, there's not a ton of women that stand out where you go, oh, that's definitely got to be so-and-so. I mean, Becky Lynch seems to be the favorite, given that many people believe she's going to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. But what about Jade Cargill? I don't think Jade Cargill, by the way, even though I do believe she will debut in the Rumble and have a really big spot, tossing out 47 women, right? I mean, I'm sure she's just going to dominate the women and have a cool moment or two in the Rumble, going face to face with Nia Jax or whoever, maybe Bianca Belair, and she'll have a big moment, but she won't win. She's not going to immediately be injected into the women's main event for WrestleMania. I think that would be a mistake, especially if you're trying to keep her babyface. So you have Becky Lynch, who's at the forefront, and then of course this has seemingly been the hot rumor as of late. Mercedes Moné, i.e. Sasha Banks, is heavily rumored to be in talks with WWE. Now, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not reporting or pretending that, she's confirmed to come back, but she's not signing with AEW. And I think that there is significant interest on her end to come back. And the reason I think, not that I, of course, even talking to her, this is a fan's perspective, but when you look at all of the things WWE is doing right now, all of the conversation that's going on, they are the hot product right now. They're the ones, they are the promotion that WWE is talking about, or that the wrestling world is talking about. AEW has kind of fallen on hard times right now. I know they got an event coming up. I understand that. They got a pay-per-view coming up. But they have really kind of fallen out of the conversation for a lot of wrestling fans as of late. And it wasn't helped at all by the Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho promo that they did. I watched that. It was embarrassing. It was bad. It was just really bad. This is the downside of allowing talent to not have scripted promos and go off the cuff. You're seeing the potential risks of it right in front of you. If you want to go look at it, just be prepared for secondhand embarrassment. It's the Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega promo. Bad, but it's just kind of the cyclical nature of things. I mean, WWE and AEW kind of trade places at times with the spotlight, depending on what big thing's going on. But the other thing you have to think of with the Royal Rumble is MJF. Those 3 letters are letters that I have been talking about for nearly 2 years. The bidding war of 2024 is now upon us. MJF has been talking about this since 2022, if you remember. And we still don't know for sure whether or not he has signed with AEW quietly. We don't know. Anybody that knows or pretends to know is just lying. I mean, WWE would be foolish to not at least see what MJF can bring to the table. And I think that there are probably some feelers out there for MJF, given his contract, expires in 12 days. It's kind of a time crunch here. But I think the WWE should consider heavily bringing him in. Now, what are the downsides to that? Well, some of the concerns are that WWE won't allow him to do what has made him so successful in AEW, to which I would say that would be ridiculous. I know that if Vince was in charge, perhaps things would be more in a tight-knit, micromanaged box. But with Triple H there, obviously he has his parent company Endeavor now that he has to answer to, so he can't just do anything he wants. But I think that bringing in MJF and allowing him to do what's made him successful is obviously the best way to go. And MJF is also a smart guy. Why would he go to a place that's going to be ultra micromanaged, where he can't do the one thing that has made him as big as he is? And that, my friends, is being able to talk off the cuff and scathe people on the microphone. He's good in the ring. In fact, I would say he's almost very good in the ring. But what is really big for him and his claim to fame is on the mic. So I don't think MJF would go to a place that wouldn't allow him to do that. So that being said, MJF is still up in the air for the Royal Rumble. I would say, unless we hear otherwise, perhaps before the Royal Rumble, that we hear that MJF has re-signed and it's all official. If we don't hear anything and it's radio silence, that may be a very big indication that WWE has signed him. So take a look at, keep an eye out for that. All right. If I was to guess, I would still believe that AEW probably signed him to like a 1 or 2 year deal. That's my guess. Instead of it being a 4-year deal, maybe MJF is just going to go with, simply the most money, which I think Tony Khan would probably offer. Because look, and this is the last thing I'll say in MJF. I promise we're getting to Raw. I veered off completely. I understand. But with MJF, AEW needs MJF more than WWE does. MJF is one of the pillars of AEW. If he leaves AEW, that's going to hurt them immensely. I'm not saying that their lights are going to turn off and they're going to shut down tomorrow, but that's a huge blow to AEW if he decides to sign with WWE and not AEW. So we'll see. We will see, of course, what happens over the next several weeks, but all will be answered soon. I'm a big proponent of him in WWE. I think that he has outgrown AEW in my mind. I think he's outgrown it. He knows that WWE is the hot product right now, and that WWE is the more mature company when it comes to just being in existence. There's more opponents there. It's a bigger pond. So that to me is what I hope he's looking at, and we will see. But circling back to Gunther, I don't know how the hell I got on this, but Gunther and The Miz, I loved it. And Gunther winning, I think, was the right choice. Absolutely the right choice. There's no other choice right now. But I will say Gunther is getting probably dangerously close to dropping that belt. I think they're almost ready to promote him to that next level. And look, Gunther still could be involved in a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania. I know that Brock Lesnar is probably going to go face-to-face with Gunther, probably maybe even at the Rumble, and they have that face-to-face. And that's where things are started, and you get to Gunther, Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I think that's likely, but there's still a chance that if you take the belt off of Gunther in the next couple of weeks, even after the Royal Rumble, you could still insert him into the World Heavyweight Championship picture. I don't know if they're ready for that, but I wouldn't count it out. So, alrighty. R-Truth. Let's move on to R-Truth. Man, this dude he's a national treasure, okay? He has that connection with the crowd that cannot be manufactured. It can't be drawn up in a boardroom. It can't be forced. It just happens. It just happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. R-Truth has that organic connection with the fans that is very rare and is very difficult to acquire or to have. And it's one that Daniel Bryan had. It's one that I think LA Knight has to some degree. And R-Truth. And R-Truth here was really good on Monday night. His shirt that he just made up himself with the Judgment Day and he taped on and R-Truth was really funny. He even absolved the Judgment Day of the beatdown, saying it was just the initiation, which was funny. Like he's being inducted into a fraternity or something, and that was just the hazing portion of it. That was really funny. He just was able to forgive the Judgment Day for that, thinking it was something other than it is. He's just a genuine funny dude, and his match with JD McDonough in the Miracle on 34th Street fight, that's a WWE tradition. It was fine. It actually is more than fine, considering that R-Truth is in his 50s and he's still performing like he's in his 30s. And he almost never has a match on WWE television anymore. He may have, workouts, I'm sure he does on his own or at the Performance Center or whatever ring they have set up before the show to keep himself loose and ready to go. But the R-Truth here, had a really fun match with JD McDonough, who in his own right did a nice job, but it was R-Truth's time. He put JD through a table. The stipulation was that the loser would leave Judgment Day, assuming that R-Truth is in Judgment Day, right? Which is also half the joke. JD loses, but he's not kicked out of the group, and R-Truth is victorious here. So now the one thing I'll say about R-Truth, I think I've said this before, is with that organic connection, that is a foundational piece to a really successful championship run. Because the fans already love you on a real level. They have this real love for you. And he, I think, is owed a championship run. Or at least should have had one a long time ago. And I don't mean with some 24/7 title. I mean with the Intercontinental, or hell, the world title. I think if you ever put R-Truth in that position where he wasn't all the time jokes, and I'm okay with that, because honestly, that is what makes R-Truth so endearing, is his personality and his lightheartedness and his ignorance and, giving everybody a chance and being kind of just, off in the clouds a lot of times with the things he says. That's absolutely part of it. But if you were ever to get R-Truth in some kind of position to make him world champion, I think the fans would buy into it. I think they would love it. I think they would embrace it, knowing what it is, knowing that R-Truth is probably not going to hold the belt for long, but it's a fun moment. It's a deserving moment for R-Truth. And I think he would hold the belt with respect. And it's just, I feel like, deserved. And I don't know if they never considered it, or if they always just looked at R-Truth as this comedic relief character, of which he does an excellent job of and is extremely difficult to do in an effective way. Very few guys in the history of wrestling have been able to do that. And it just feel like they missed the boat on this one. And I'm not asking for a 6-month run. Hell, I'd take a 2-month, 3-month run with R-Truth as champion. I think it'd be fun. The problem is you have to have R-Truth facing a heel that's a long-standing champion, and obviously that's not in the cards at all right now. So I'm not saying it's going to happen in the near future, and of course he's not getting any younger either. But I think R-Truth as champion for even a couple of months would be so much fun. And imagine the crowd. You can hear the "You Deserve It" chants, can you not? For R-Truth. Man, this guy can still wrestle. That's the thing too. He doesn't, he's not exactly, the Creed brothers in there, but he doesn't need to be. You know who he is and what he is. So, just a thought. But this win against JD McDonough was fun. I have no issue with it. I would imagine they're going to continue with this R-Truth stuff for a little while longer, especially given that he won the match this week, which means he thinks in his mind that he's still in the Judgment Day, even though he was never in it to begin with. So it's a lot of just kind of lightheartedness as we get into some heavier stuff. All right. So let's talk. Let's see. What do we get into? So let's talk about the match of Creed brothers for the tag titles against the Judgment Day's Finn Balor and Damian Priest. The Creed brothers, I know this was the main event of Raw. Okay, I understand that. But this to me was a match that got cut short, given that it was only 7 minutes long on Raw. And they were just a victim of being at the end of the show, where other segments went long. This was probably slated for 12 minutes, 11, 13, 14, maybe even 15 minutes. Creed brother matches should not go quickly, typically. And, not everyone needs to be a 25-minute match. But in the main event, why wouldn't you want the Creed brothers to be able to show off everything that they're capable of to the fans? And they maximized the minutes. They had a fun match for as short as it was. They really did. And we got character development. We got some fun character development of who they are, what they, their amateur background. That's exactly what we needed. Because up until that point, all we knew was, they're kind of boring in their entrance and what they wear, but man, when they go in the ring, they feel like real athletes. So, but this was exactly as far as what the match was and how long they got, which was 7 minutes long of a match. They did exactly what they needed to do. Actually, it was 16 minutes. I think the Hulu version cut it a bit. But everything I just said is completely wrong. That's what I get for the Hulu version. Nonetheless, this match, regardless of the time, still delivered. Okay, this match still delivered in a way that showed you what the Creed brothers are about, which is raw power, young, athletic, gifted athletes, brothers, real collegiate athletes. Amateur wrestling background, in your face, just athlete. And that to me is what they have to live on right now. And the character development stuff can continue to slowly come. So having the Creed brothers lose here was also the right move, though, because the Creed brothers losing or winning would have been, I think, too much too soon. The crowd's not ready. As much as they're starting to get on board with the Creed brothers, if the Creed brothers had won this match for the tag titles, I think that you would have had the crowd go, cool, but I don't know if I'm ready for this yet. We like them, but we're not dying to see them champions yet. So I think it would have been too much too soon. Plus, again, the lack of character development for the Creed brothers right now, which will come with time, would have been a mistake if you gave them the belts. So this was the right move, although they had me believing at times with the cannonball. That was very convincing. It was all a lot of fun. And the Brutus Ball. I'm sorry, not the Cannonball. The Brutus Ball. All right. We then got the match of Jey Uso versus Ludwig Kaiser. This was 10 minutes, and believe it or not, did not make the Hulu cut of Raw. Jey Uso, who is hot as he is, did not make the Hulu cut of Raw. It's not. I don't think that's a referendum on Jey. This match is just really, I don't think, that consequential, which is what they looked at here. But this was just a match to help put over Jey and continue the dissension and the disintegration of the Imperium group, and Jey Uso spearing Kaiser and then hitting him with the top rope splash for the win was the right move. And we did get Kofi Kingston, however, who was at ringside, took out Vinci with Trouble in Paradise. That's when, of course, Jey hit the spear on Kaiser and hit it with the splash for the victory. So that was fine. The only issue I have, and you guys know what I'm probably going to say, is Kofi dressed as Santa Claus. It really kind of fits him. The goofy, nothing bothers me, everything's cool, just goof. That kind of fits Kofi. All right. And so that he's kind of the perfect candidate to play Santa Claus, I have to say. Kofi Kingston he's good in the ring, good family man, seems like a genuine human being. But his on-air character is it battles Cody Rhodes in my mind for insufferableness. But I'll just leave it there. I don't want to get too down on Kofi as Santa Claus, even though it's just, yeah. Anyway, all right. So we got, also, I'm going a bit reverse here, McIntyre coming out to interrupt Seth Rollins after he said, wait till you see what he does in 2024. He's going to defend his title against Drew McIntyre at the Day 1 event. So again, a PLE disguised as Raw. We got McIntyre coming out, and McIntyre said that there are people in the back who are turning a blind eye and kissing arse when it comes to CM Punk. Why does Drew McIntyre always have to say arse? Is he not capable of saying ass? Or does he have to always throw in like the Scottish accent on purpose? It's weird when he does that. It's like he's PGing himself on purpose when the word ass is more than compliant with PG standards today. So when he says arse, I'm like, who are you worried about? Are you worried about cussing, that someone you know is watching that you don't want to cuss? Or are you just sticking with the Scottish accent of that's how they say ass in Scotland? I'm not sure, but he does this all the time. All the time. It's just like kind of soft. Just say ass, dude. Okay. He said Rollins said what needed to be said to Punk, and that makes him a real leader. He talked about his trip home that made him feel guilt, and he questioned whether his sacrifices to his family have been all worth it, and said that his mother's passing and sacrificing, or he spoke about it and said he needs the title to show what the sacrifices he made were worth, and he'll do whatever it takes to take the title from Seth at Day 1. Rollins was a bit conflicted here, saying he doesn't know whether to believe him or call him out on his crap, and Rollins said McIntyre told him he would find a way back to the top, and he's done that. But what makes McIntyre think the outcome will be any different than when they met the last time? And Rollins said he looked at a man in the eye last week and told him that he hates him. Rollins said he meant that, but he doesn't hate McIntyre. He pities him. And he said, Merry Christmas, I'll see you in a couple weeks. And Rollins tried to leave the ring, and then McIntyre grabbed Rollins. They brawled for a while, and McIntyre eventually got the upper hand and shoved Rollins' head into the barricade, and McIntyre performed a Alabama slam onto the ring steps, and Rollins came up clutching his left elbow. So this seems to be the babyface heel dynamic right now that the WWE is following is get the heel to injure a babyface body part. That's what this is. And then that way they can work that during the match and tell the story of the babyface trying to overcome their injury while the heel targets a body part that's injured. You're seeing with Kevin Owens right now too, right? With the injured hand, quote unquote. You saw it with Sami Zayn with his knee. Obviously, Sami's out for a little while. I think that also happened in the women's division too. So you're seeing it over and over here. And it's still effective, though. Just because it's being done several times doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do. But Rollins is going to clearly have to overcome this quote-unquote elbow injury that McIntyre inflicted on him. And I think there's a real chance, a real one, that Drew McIntyre wins at day one. Not saying it's guaranteed. And we still could have some kind of a triple threat at the Royal Rumble event for the world title. But this is, out of all the title defenses, and I said this the last time that Drew and Seth faced one another, but this time isn't even elevated. It's even more elevated that Drew could win this, because I think Drew as a heel champion lends itself to, as I talked about last night with Anthony DeMarco, an LA Knight Drew McIntyre world title match. That to me is probably where they're going. But either way, this is a great way to put real heat on McIntyre. I think that this continues to be a successful run for McIntyre. There's just no two ways about it. All right. Where are we going? We've got Ivar versus Akira Tozawa. Ivar took out Akira in 4 minutes and 5 seconds. The finish was Ivar throwing a spin kick at Tozawa and then went up top. But Tozawa was able to cut him off, and he threw a leaping enziguri at Ivar and then joined him on the ropes. Ivar stuffed a Hurricane Rana attempt and ended up power slamming him from the middle rope before pinning him. So Ivar defeats Akira Tozawa in 4 minutes. So Ivar, I think didn't he lose last week to, was it Bronson Reed? So this kind of reestablishes Ivar a little bit in his winning ways. Beating Akira Tozawa isn't exactly something I'd put on my resume, but Ivar is a force to be reckoned with, and I think he's really good as a singles act, honestly. Maybe even more entertaining than he was with Eric when they were the Viking Raiders. So, but something tells me they will probably revive that tag team when he comes back. Alrighty, we have then Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Caden Carter and Katana Chance for the beloved women's tag team titles. Now, the match itself was entertaining. Okay, it was still an okay match. This was a match that lasted almost 11 minutes, so probably the longest women's tag team match in many months. Okay, but it was for the women's tag belts, and we saw new champions crowd, Caden Carter and Katana Chance, and they did also a little bit of character development here, just as they did with the Creed brothers. Followed the same formula, got a little bit of a background on these two, not in terms of their past, but they did get some kind of pre-taped promo that I don't think was as effective as the Creed brothers at all, but gave them a little bit of mic time that, it's better than none, I guess. But the crowd wasn't really super into this. They popped for the title change, but they popped for the title change for the sake of the title change. I don't think that if you brought Caden Carter and Katana Chance out next week, that they're going to have really any significant variation in crowd support. I mean, the crowd only popped for that because they're in attendance for a title change. It's still a big deal. So they're kind of popping for the circumstance, but not really in, out of happiness for Caden Carter and Katana Chance, if that makes sense. So I hate to say it, this title, until I'm proven otherwise, and I hope I am, this didn't mean anything to me. I mean, sorry it didn't. These titles, these women's tag titles, are an albatross. They are a burden to carry. They're not an asset. Until I'm proven otherwise, and maybe we have, somebody break the hex that is on these championships, because it has brought nothing but doom and gloom for the team that holds them. Anywhere from injuries to being off TV, which is probably the most significant symptom of being a women's tag team champion, is you will be off TV for several weeks if you win the belts. And also WWE doesn't seem to take them seriously with how infrequent that they put them even in on televised, having even the women who are tag teams talk about them on TV isn't even happening. So until WWE takes it seriously, I can't take this title change seriously. Sorry. WWE has been down this road before. They've done this a dozen times where they try to use the women's tag belts to help make a tag team. And wrong formula. The belt doesn't make the team makes the belt. But given that the belt has such a little equity and value in it, I mean, Caden Carter and Katana Chance may add value because there's so little to begin with anyway. And I hate saying that, but WWE, until they prove me otherwise with consistent quality stories surrounding the women's tag team championships, can't take this seriously. And honestly, I just don't care about this title change. Again, I'm truly hoping this changes, as many of you I'm sure are hoping the same thing too. But Chelsea Green continues to be very entertaining. She is the star of this program, no doubt. Alrighty, we got Gunther. Or I'm not Gunther, I'm sorry. Shinsuke, who's reading from a storybook, and he spoke about his feud with Cody to the rhythm of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, which was really good. Can we make it like an official thing? Can we take the Shinsuke Nakamura version of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas and make that like a national change, a sweeping change across the board, and replace it with the real 'Twas the Night Before Christmas? Can we do that? I loved it. I love this story that he created. Once he was done, though, he was attacked by Cody Rhodes backstage, and they brawled. Nakamura rolled over the barricade. Cody fought off security. He was about to hit the crossroads on Shinsuke on the announce table, but security pulled Nakamura away, and then Nakamura was entering. He entered the ring and smiled, and let them fight chant broke out. This was effective. You get another really good promo from Shinsuke, another really good animation promo from the production team at WWE, where they're doing those anime things for Shinsuke, which are brilliant. And you also get an enraged Cody. You finally get to see them at least have some kind of altercation where Cody isn't just laying on his back, and he gets a little bit of revenge on Shinsuke. Shinsuke smiling after the attack was a nice touch to keep the heat on him. You didn't get to see Cody hit his finish on Shinsuke. That's a nice touch. So there's a lot left to be desired, but that's a good thing. I may not like Cody Rhodes' babyface character, but I can say objectively that this is working. These two are working well together, just as it surprised us with the Seth Rollins and Shinsuke program, that I think many of us were pleasantly surprised, and it over-delivered on a lot of levels there. So Cody and Shinsuke is going to be a lot of fun. And I believe they're going to face each other at day one as well. So, alrighty. We, I think, have covered it. We already went through the IC title. Yeah. So, Lynch. Becky Lynch. She said that she's the money maker, that whole thing with Nia Jax, because she'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. It's just, I don't want to get on a diatribe about it, but it's just it's written somewhere in WWE's contract with all talent that they must, if they're a babyface, declare that they'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, especially if they're champion. And also welcoming us to Monday Night Raw. It's ridiculous. They keep doing it. I'm going to keep saying it's ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous? Because the talent shouldn't care about welcoming you to the show. They should care about the stories that are going on with their own careers. And here's the thing. I wouldn't mind it if it happened like once in a while every few months. But when you know the first thing out of anyone's mouth, no matter who is coming out and what storyline is going on, that saying the words "Welcome to Monday Night Raw" supersedes any and all things going on, it infuriates me because it tells you that the company is mandating this for some odd self-fulfilling reason. It can't be the talent doing this on their own. It's a small thing, but it takes you out of the moment instantly. When you know the very first thing anyone's going to say, babyface comes out, heel comes out, it's the first thing. Why? They're not out there to be spokespersons for the company. They're out there to win championships, get revenge, whatever the case may be. And the first thing out of their mouths, the first thing on their minds is making sure that we are welcomed to the show that we already know we're watching. Sorry, it's just angering, stupid, and it's a take me out of the moment. Okay, one that was not a take me out of the moment was a Becky Lynch and Nia Jax segment here, as I alluded to a little bit here. Lynch said that Jax is the one who's afraid of what will happen, and said Jax's entire existence in WWE has been on the back of someone else's name. And she said first it was Jax's cousin's name, and now it's hers. Lynch said she'll go down as the greatest ever to do it, while Jax's claim to fame is that she broke the nose of the greatest to ever do it, and challenged Jax. And the best thing to me about this promo, before I get to the physical part of it, was that after Nia Jax announced she's going to be entering the Women's Royal Rumble, Lynch said that, yeah, no one here cares. It's like, yeah, it's true. Like, no one cares. Literally no one. We don't care. We don't care. So that was very, very funny and very true. So that was good. We also got, again, Jax pretending that she was duped into a match, telling the referee to get out there. Referee does show up. And then in true heel fashion, Nia Jax backs down at the last second and says, we're going to do this on my time, which is, you guessed it, the day one event. They didn't call it the day one edition of Monday Night Raw. They just called it day one. So it's been upgraded. It's not a PLE. It's still on Raw, but they're not mentioning it being a Raw. So I don't know. But this is really good. Now, after this, after Jax said, see how badly you want this, you're not going to get it. And Jax said Lynch's daughter is going to cry and ask her why she's uglier than usual after she breaks her nose again in San Diego in 2 weeks. And Jax started to walk to the back, and Lynch left the ring and hopped on the back of Jax from behind. And then Lynch had security pull her away. And then Jax punched Lynch from behind. And interestingly, Michael Cole called that a cheap shot. Yet when Lynch attacked Jax from behind 5 seconds earlier, there's no mention of it being a cheap shot. It's just the dichotomy of who's the babyface and heel matters based on the announcers framing them how they want them to be framed of, oh, it's a cheap shot, or, oh, they're just taking advantage, right? When it's a babyface, the babyface is just taking advantage of the situation. When it's a heel doing it, it's a cheap shot. So see how things work here? I'm not crapping on it. That's how they should present it. It's just things that you notice as you watch the product more and more. Now, Jax started to walk to the back while gloating. Lynch left the ring and hopped on the back of Jax, and security, as I said, pulled Jax away, or pulled Becky away, and Jax put her down with like one punch. And this is going to be a fun match. It's not going to exactly be match of the night. You know Jax's limitations. She's not going to flip-flop and fly. All right? You already know what she is. And so it still can be fun, though, because Becky Lynch can work with anyone. This is a match that you look at and go, well, Becky should win this, because the idea is to move her on to the Royal Rumble and presumably WrestleMania with Rhea Ripley. But what if Nia wins this? I mean, it's possible. We'll see. But this program, to me, is also over-delivering. and one that is new for Becky, new for Nia Jax. Nia Jax is so unlikable genuinely as a person. You can feel she's unlikable, that it comes, she's cast perfectly and it comes through on the screen. So I have no issue with this. Nia Jax as a heel makes total sense. And I have at least some interest in this program. So credit to both women. So, alrighty. That might do it. I don't know if there's any little thing, probably a little nuggets here and there I've missed. But that generally is it for Monday Night Raw. I'll be back tomorrow with the mailbag. If you want to send in your questions, you can do that at mailbag@wwepodcast.com. If you're a patron, put in the subject of the email that you're a patron so I know to prioritize your questions. Keep it brief, please. Again, 3 minutes or less. If you read it out loud to yourself and it's more than 3 minutes, cut it down. We have to rocket through them as quickly as we can to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to be heard on the show. And I'll be back tomorrow, as I said. Again, plus my voice is going, as you can hear. I'm battling a lot of upper respiratory stuff right now. So I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day or night, and consider going ad-free at patreon.com/WWE podcast. If you want to go ad-free everything, lots of perks and fun stuff as you go up in tiers. So that'll do it for me. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.